Hey, I'm Cole. When it comes to furniture restorations and makeovers, I am a repeat offender. The fanciest tool I own is a cordless drill. Being a dad to this cool dude is my most favourite thing to do, and I've chosen to believe that if I skate often, surely I'll remain forever young, and hopefully in slightly better shape than this Victorian pot cupboard, which happens to be today's project. My client inherited this from her great grandma. She loves the sentimental value but isn't happy with how sad it's looking, and it doesn't quite suit her style in its current condition. She's asked me to repair the damage, strip it down, and in her own words, breathe a little glam into the piece, all while retaining its original charm. We currently have a nasty cold making its way through our household at the moment. I've got it, Sunny's just come down with it, and I'm sure my wife will be next in line. So apologies if I sound a little blocked up. Fortunately, the whole piece is pretty much solid wood, so I'll use my scraper on the curved edges and I'll use a stripper on the flat surfaces and this little bit of veneered trim just here. I start with a quick scuff sand to give the stripper a head start. I left the stripper on for about 20 minutes and then removed it with a scraper. And as you can see, this stuff is quite easy to work with. It doesn't leave too much mess behind, but I do go over it with some super hot water and in this case dishwashing liquid, and that cleans all the residue off so I can sand without clogging up my sandpaper. The top has some pretty deep marks, but because it's solid wood I can level it out really easily with my orbital sander. I've just used a little bit of water here so that I can see if there are any sort of marks or blemishes that I still need to get rid of. There definitely are a few here and there, so I'll come back to that soon. But for now, I'm going to sort out the damage on this veneer. I really love this feature. It's actually giving me Art Deco vibes with the curved corners. I'll just jump in here and thank you all very much for tuning in. If you've been here before, thank you for your continued support, and if you're new and you've enjoyed this video, maybe a cheeky subscribe isn't out of the question. A comment, a like, watching my other content, it all helps me on my YouTube journey and I am very grateful, so thank you. I'm applying this tape as I've learned that filler tends to get quite deep into the grain and I'm forever trying to get it out. So this just ensures that the filler fills the gap and keeps the rest of the surface clean. I've sanded this little wedge of wood so that I've got it the correct thickness, but I do need to cut it so it's got a nice rounded edge. I actually started out by using my hand saw, but then I remembered that I've got a multi-tool which actually cuts curves really well. It's very easy and fast, and as you can see, it gives me a reasonably curved edge to go and work with. I then can use my orbital sander to round it off. And as you can see, we've now got a nice snug fit.
I'm the gingerbread man. Oops, I'll mop it now. Don't touch it. Oh,
Very sharp.
very sharp.
He wants a little red berry. Whoa, big one! Whoa!
This veneer repair is actually looking quite nice. Obviously it's not quite the right colour, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now back to those darker marks. There are actually a few of them across the piece and it's looking a little uneven in general. So I'm going to use some hot water and Barkeeper's Friend as a wash and go over the whole piece. Barkeeper's Friend has got oxalic acid, so it will lighten the wood and hopefully help with those darker marks. I let it soak in for about half an hour before cleaning it off with fresh hot water. This balances out the tone of the wood and also raises the grain before the final sand. My client asked me to leave the inside of the cabinet. She wanted to keep it original as it's not visible. It took every ounce of my being to honour this, but of course I did have to give it a little pick-me-up with some Restorer finish. It is now time for the final sand, so I hand sanded to 180 grit. The natural wood is quite a nice colour, but I've seen the furniture in my client's house and all of her wooden pieces have quite a nice autumn kind of glow to them. So I'd like to get this piece in the same tone. Time for a science experiment. I use a water-based stain, acrylic paint and some water, mix it all up until I get the colour and consistency that I am after. You can sort of see the reddish tones coming through, and I think it's going to come up quite well once it mixes with the colour of the wood. So this is before I did the stain, and I have done the stain on this side here. I think once I apply the oil and the wax, this colour is going to be pretty much spot on. I highly recommend wearing gloves. I don't know why I didn't put gloves on. That's a big mistake. I give the whole piece a nice hydrating drink with some hard wax oil, and I leave it for about 7 to 8 hours outside to dry. I spend a little more time blending the repairs. This one actually looks really good. From a distance you can barely tell. I finish the piece off with some clear premium beeswax, and I use superfine steel wool to apply it, leave it on for about 20 or 30 minutes, and then I come back and buff it to a nice satin finish. You will probably notice that in the reveal photos I have put the top trim on back to front, and I didn't notice until I'd taken all the photos. Perhaps this is where my head cob was setting in. I'm going to use that excuse anyhow. I do hope you enjoy the result, so let's take a look. Cheers for watching, and until next time, take it easy.